is all of the horrible conditions that Palestinians are living in, is that a justification for Hamas doing what they did in October 7th? Good.
Do you think so?
Of course not.
Right. So we're agreed.
No, of course. So let me ask you the question a different way. There is no justification what Israel is doing now. No Hamas, no terrorist attack justifies this. Well, because you have been there. No, but you have been there. You have stood against the Iraq war.
Yes.
So that is too much.
Yeah, but here's the
you
difference.
are killing a whole population.
No, here's the difference. I didn't stand against them for that reason. I stood against the Iraq war because I did not believe we had seen evidence that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. So we were fighting a war against a country and a despotic leader which had nothing to do with 9/11, as they were trying to claim. It was actually a lie perpetrated on the world, and the consequences were disastrous. 1 million people died. I mean, over 150 British troops died. My brother served in Iraq and could have been one of them. You know, the whole thing was a fiasco, a deadly fiasco. It led to the rise of ISIS and all the hell that came with that. So, you know, yes, absolutely, I fought that campaign against that war, and I wish I'd been successful. But the singular difference here is no one is disputing, least of all the Hamas themselves, that they perpetrated this attack. And I believe Israel has a fundamental right and a duty to defend its people from them doing it again. So if we can agree on that as a principle of a country that's had that kind of attack and how you deal with it, the question then becomes, how do you eradicate the people who did it? And I just think, given the intense nature of the way the population exists in Gaza, very, very large numbers of people in confined places, and that is in itself unacceptable, and I will agree with you about all of that, and that has to be fixed longer term. But actually, if Hamas are everywhere there amongst these people, I just don't see any alternative to what they're doing, and I'm very happy to consider one. But I don't think you have one either.
So if the Iraqis were actually, there was evidence that they were behind 9/11, would that still be okay to kill a million Iraqis?
We have a parallel, which is Afghanistan. And in fact, I would say, but that raises a different question. So was the Afghanistan war just? I believe it was, in a way that Iraq wasn't. I believe that Afghanistan was harboring terrorists, Al-Qaeda. We know that they were training there. We know the Taliban were there. And we went in, we launched this war. It goes on and on and on. Huge bloodshed on both sides. And in the end, after a ridiculous overnight pullout by America and President Biden, the Taliban are back in charge and waging the same kind of medieval rule they waged before all this. So you've got two things. Was it justified to strike back at Afghanistan for harboring Al-Qaeda? I would say yes. Did the means in the end justify the war? You could argue no, actually, because actually you ended up with the Taliban back in charge. So they're two different things. And it may well be here, by the way, as I've said, that if Israel pursues this ground invasion, it backfires horribly. It leads to a much wider conflict involving many other people, possibly including Iran directly. And it could be a horrendous escalation and a massive war raging through the whole region. And that is my fear about it. But I come back to the central point of justification, and I'm really struggling to see what else Israel is supposed to do to get rid of Hamas. And if you've got an alternative, let's hear it.
I do. Piers, this is never about Hamas. Believe me, it is never about Hamas. If somebody tells you who they are, listen. Israel has been telling the world all the time, they need to clear the Gaza Strip into Egypt.
You think that's always been the plan?
Always there. I mean, they have said it. They have said it many times. Why does Egypt take them? And do you think when Egypt takes them, do you think they'll go back? No, never. And then when they're done with Gaza, they will go back to the West Bank. They will kind of like build the settlements around them, and then until they push them into Jordan, because that is the plan. They have talked, not just Benjamin Netanyahu, everybody said like there's no state, two states. It is one state, and it's for the Jewish
I don't
people.
think he believes in a two-state solution.
Nobody believes in a two-state solution. It is one state.
But nor do Hamas, obviously, and they're the ruling authority in Gaza.
They
don't.
You see what you're comparing? It's a militant group. It's a small militant group.
But they are
Israel as a nation.
They are the elected political leadership.
They were elected in 2006, and 50% of the people in Gaza right now are under the age of 16. They were not even born.
I understand.
Yeah, like so.
So all right. So Bassem, let's agree about that.
But that's the circle situation.
I understand. It's a circular firing squad.
Hamas.
I know. But okay, let's move forward.
Oh, yes.
Let's assume somehow we get to a place, possibly at the instigation of countries like Saudi Arabia and others getting directly involved, where you get to a place where Hamas are removed, and I don't quite see how that happens without enormous further bloodshed, but let's assume they get removed. Let's assume that Netanyahu is removed from office, which I think is highly likely just from the fury of his own people about what they see as the defensive and security failings, plus his attack on the Supreme Court already causing huge polarization. Let's assume we get new leadership in both places. Could there still be peace? Could there still be a two-state solution?
No.
It can never happen.
No, because Israel have already shown it's not about Netanyahu. It is the policy of Israel not to give the Palestinians their seat. It has always been there.
But what if you find leadership that understands?
You will not.
But why are you so...
You will not.
Why do you not think so?
Because Israel has been...
But they would say the same about the other side. And I remember...
Who has the power?
Let me give you a parallel.
Obama in his book...
Let me give you a parallel.
Okay.
Let me give you a parallel. Northern Ireland, okay? Northern Ireland appeared to be completely intractable, with the IRA and the loyalist paramilitaries trying to kill each other, in the IRA's case trying to kill British people as well, because they did not want this to go the way that people wanted it to go. And ultimately, we got to peace because we found leaders who actually had the courage, the moral courage, to get in the room with the people that were trying to kill them and to do a deal. I don't think you can do that with Hamas. They're on a different scale altogether to the IRA. But we did have a seemingly intractable place riddled with violence on both sides, and eventually we got peace. Do you not see there's any chance of doing that here?
No, not with Israel. Obama, after he left office, he wrote in his book, the problem with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is that one side is extremely powerful and one side is extremely weak. There is absolutely nothing to oblige that strong side to give anything. All over the years, Israel showed you many times that they are not interested in peace. Leave Gaza. Forget Hamas for a second. The West Bank. What have they been doing in the West Bank? The illegal settlements did not stop a single day.
And it's completely wrong.
Yeah, but the thing
is, it's wrong. I agree with you.
But you see what they're doing in the West Bank right now? They are creating little Gazas. They are creating little Gazas.
Yeah.
And until they are like squeeze them. And
it's completely wrong.